All right, so my apologies once again. I've resumed recording our session here. So we're going to go ahead to our Perfect Canada USA catalog and go back to my wall settings here, 120 inches by 120, 120 here, 120. And there we go. So we got a little bit of some walls now. I'm going to right click on the wall and make everything greater. Most master bedroom closets are 120 inches or greater. I'll make this one 130. Perfect. So we talked about modules. So in our modules, we have our wall modules and tall modules. If I drag a tall module into place, see my magnet, let go of my magnet, go to my farthest left. I'm going to click on my illustration on the right-hand side. Again, we are converting our 32 millimeter European system to the imperial system, and we can go increments to 32 millimeters only. So that is our restriction. And all the way to 12 1/8 is the lowest setting, to a maximum of 107 7/8. I'm going to make a standard 83 15/16 right now. So you can see the standard height, and I'll make this one 24 inches wide and 14 inches deep. I'll click on OK and drop it in like so. Right click up and down, and I'll drop it in to the bottom 0 inches. Oops. Up and down, and bottom is 0 inches. I'll drag another tall module into place. And here is the alternative. We can go to a maximum of 107 7/8. Right click on the image, go all the way to 107 7/8. And that is our maximum height that we can provide. Opening depth is 14 inches, opening width 24 inches. And now you can see the two different sizes. Now, what if you want to go higher than 107 7/8? Well, then what we would do is put in a stackable module at the very top here. So we're adding another module on top of an existing module. On our left-hand side under local browser, underneath modules, we now have something called a stackable module on the left-hand side. It's the very first setting. I'm going to drag the stackable module, go to an opening area. I see my magnet, go to my farthest left, and let go of my mouse. Right click on the image. And right now we have roughly 22 inches of space that we need to fill in here, or we have a combination of roughly 50 inches of space on this section here. I'll keep it at 34 13/16 just as an idea. We'll keep this one now 24 inches wide. And instead of a bottom shelf with a toe kick, I'm going to subtract that bottom shelf. So no bottom shelf and no toe kick. So now it is an inverted U-shaped module system. I'm going to click on OK. And I'm going to put it on top of this section right here like so. Now, sometimes you won't be able to go through modules. As a little tip is you can hold the shift button down on your keyboard and you can go through the walls. I'm going to drop it in like so. Now, I want to be as accurate as I can and line it up so all the panels are lined up. We can use a stencil or a ruler to make sure that we have it exactly into place and lined up correctly. Underneath our modules, we have stackable, wall module, tall corner, islands, but we also have something called a horizontal dummy helper and a vertical dummy helper. I'm going to drag the vertical dummy helper into place here. I can see my horizontal helper and just butt it up against the existing module, left click to drop it in. And now I have my helper. Now I can move this module properly. I can drag it all the way touching the helper. And now I know the two left panels are perfectly aligned. I'll right click on the module, click up and down, and drop it into place here. And now I can remove my helper. So this is a great way to actually have a stackable module and a way to actually line it up properly using the stencil and the ruler. Again, I can keep going higher if I wish. And go into my attributes, click on my variables tab, and I can make this a little bit higher. A little tip that I like to do is I like to minimize this and see the existing design on the background. Click on apply, and before clicking on OK, I can see the changes in the background. I'll click on OK, right click, up and down, and now I have a stackable module, and now I have a 7.5 inch gap here. Please note that when you are making a gap and you do want to cap it off with a molding or a filler, that you need to give it at least a minimum of a 2-inch variance from the very top fixed shelf to the ceiling. It's very easy for installers to make an actual filler or a molding 2 inches or greater, but when you get into the 1 inch or less zone, it's very difficult for installers to cut very long pieces of wood. So my recommendation for ceiling variances is going to be 2 inches. That's the maximum. Now, for installation purposes, we don't have an anchor point for either of these modules. This is how I would anchor the module to make it easier for your installer. I'm going to go into my categories, into parts, and into shelves. Under shelves, I'm going to grab a fixed shelf, drag it into place here, drop it into the stackable module, and at the very bottom of the stackable module. So now I've created a box. What's the easiest way for install is for your installer to build this box system on the ground, then take a ladder and put the box over the existing tall module. And that's going to be the easiest way to join those two together. And this is just one of several designs that an installer can do, but this is going to be the simplest form. To anchor it on the wall, we're going to go into our parts and go into cleats, drop it in. And just like in our module 1, we always want to put a cleat connecting to any stackable module or any tall module. So now we have cleats. So now the installer can adhere it and anchor it to the drywall or wooden stud. So now we have the two differences between a stackable module and a tall module and going to different heights. Corner modules. So there are 3 different types of corner modules that we offer. I'm going to go ahead and just drag this over, and we're going to do 3 separate types of modules.
Before we move forward to the corners shown, was there any questions about the tall or the stacking modules, Loretta?
Nope, I have no questions. Thanks for asking.
Perfect. As indicated in module number 1, we primarily use the elevation view to drag and drop majority of our items. Corner modules are one of those instances where we're going to use the top view or the bird's eye view. I'm going to make 3 different corner modules, one on this corner here, a second one here, and a third one here. And these are the 3 different types that we like to produce. Underneath our categories and in modules, we have our stackable module, wall module, tall module. Then we have our tall corner module. Please note that these corner modules are only meant to be on the ground. They are not to be elevated or off the ground. Because there's so much weight-bearing load on there, we need to have it on the ground. I'm going to drag my tall corner module into this corner area here. It could be anywhere in this area. Drop it in, let go of my mouse, and a new window appears. I'm going to right-click on the illustration so I can see it better. By default, the height is 83 15/16, module depth at 14 inches, and the default is 28 inches wide. This is the minimum that I recommend that you make a module width, because we have 28 inches wide between the 2 panels here. We can go to a maximum of 36. I'll make this one 36 inches so that you can see it a little bit better. If you take a look at the corner module, it is angled shelving, and we have 3 panels into place. So there are 3 areas where the actual boards are going to be sitting. You can see from going from top to bottom, the height is 83 15/16, module depth 14, width is 36. And we have panel, corner, wall, and it says right. What that means is we actually have the 3rd panel in the middle is on the right side here. If I'd like, I can click on this drop-down button and click on left. And now the 3rd panel is on the left side. There is no differences in stability. It's only to make it symmetrical. So if you had 2 corner modules on each corner, you can make one left and one right to make them symmetrical. I'll keep it at the default to right for now. We have the 3rd panel on the right side. Panel on the left is fully drilled. Panel on the right is fully drilled. I do want a bottom angled shelf. I do want a top angled shelf, and I do want a toe kick. I'm going to drop it in. And you can see that it has taken down to the corner. You can see the third panel like so. To fill in these modules, it's very simple. I'll go into my elevation 1. And as indicated, I want 3 fixed points. So I'm going to go into my categories, my parts, and shelves. So we spoke about fixed shelves and adjustable shelves, but if we keep scrolling down, we have something called the right corner fixed shelf or the left corner fixed shelf. I can take the right corner fixed shelf because I know I have a right panel. I'll drag it into the elevation view. I see my magnet, let go of my magnet, and a new window appears. Right click on the illustration. General style, angled shelf, shelf depth 14 inches. This is what we want. We'll click on OK, and I can just drop it into the module like so. I will never ever make a mistake. So if I mixed and matched between left and right, I won't make a mistake because the program knows. If I clicked on a left corner module and I dragged it into place, I'll let go of my mouse. I do want an angled shelf. I'll click on OK. But if you take a look, the system will not allow me to drop it in. You can see at the very bottom of the screen that the module looks quite different. I'll click on escape to get out of here, and we'll keep moving on. I can click a right corner fixed shelf as an idea, let go of my mouse, and do the exact same thing. And this is going to be an adjustable shelf. As noted before, all adjustable shelves are in yellow, and all fixed shelves are in blue. This is option number 1 for a corner module. The second type of corner module, I'll put it right here on the next corner. Going back into our categories, our modules, and scrolling down to our tall corner module, I will left click, drag it into my top view. I see my magnet and let go of my mouse. Once again, right click on the illustration. I'll keep it at the default height for now, 83 and 15/16, module depth 14. And I'm going to make this one 36 inches, the exact same as the other module. I'll keep my corner panel on the right. But this time, shelf bottom, it says bottom angled shelf. I'm going to click on this drop down button, and now I'm going to click on bottom radius shelf. Shelf top, it says top angled shelf. I'm going to click on the drop down button, and now I'm going to click on top radius shelf. If you take a look at the illustration, you can see that we do have a corner module, but now we have a radial type of shelving. The costs are very similar because we are still using a one full piece board, a square board, to create the actual module system in place. This module system works great in certain areas, which I'll explain shortly. I'll click on OK. And it gets dropped in. And again, I'm going to go into my elevation view, go into my categories, parts, shelves, grab a right corner fixed shelf, drag it in. I see my magnet, let go of my mouse. And instead of angled shelf, I'm going to click on my drop down and click on radius shelf. Click on OK, and now it's all radial. Now this is option number 2. Option number 3, I'm going to click on my very last. So now I'm going to click on a module system here. This is not going to be a traditional corner, but this is a corner module that is very cost effective depending on the application. I'm going to use my elevation view for this. I'm going to click on my categories, my modules, and click on a tall module. I'm going to drag it into place, go to my farthest left, let go of my mouse, right click on the illustration, and I'm going to make this one 36 inches wide. I'll click on OK. I'll drop it in, and I'm going to populate this, and I'm going to make this a double hang. Go into my accessories, go to my closet rods. I'll drop in a closet rod like so, and another one like so. I'll grab my line to line, make sure that is all centered. Top of the rod to the very bottom, and that is perfect, exactly where I'd like it to be. I'll go into my next elevation view, which is right here. I'll click on my categories, modules, click on another tall module, see my magnet, go to my farthest left, let go of my mouse. And I'm going to make this one 36 inches wide, all fully drilled, drop it into place. I'll drag these items to the right just so that we have a little bit of working room. So now we have this type of corner module. So we're going to populate this module. We're going to go back into shelves, fix shelves, and we'll make another double hang. Go into my rods, closet rods, drop in another closet rod like so, and another closet rod like so. If we take a look at a perspective view of where these two modules are sitting into place, they are flush amongst one another. I'll add some light so you can see it a bit better. Go to my ceiling, light intensity, I'll put it to 40 watts. Perfect, just so that we can see the modules just a bit better here. So right now I have this type of corner module. There's gonna be a challenge if you butt in this left panel flush to this wall here. As of right now, your clients cannot access those items in the far back because the closet rod hanger is now touching this left panel. To give grace, I recommend a minimum of 28 inches of variance from this left panel over down to the wall. Right now, if I drag this item, I'll left click and right click and go into my drag. On my placement area on the top left-hand side, it's currently wall left at 22 1/8. I'm gonna make this 28 inches. So now I have a 28-inch clearance from this left panel to the wall. This works great because I know that hangers are typically 22 inches wide to 24 inches wide. Therefore, I need to give it about roughly a 4 to 6 inch variance from the actual hanger to the actual panel itself. So therefore, 28 inches of space between this panel to the wall is recommended. If we take a look at our overview, we have 3 different corner systems. We have option number 1, option number 2, and option number 3. Option number 1 is fantastic for large walk-in closets, large master closets or mudrooms that people really want to utilize their shelving space. There's a lot of shelving involved, and this works great for a lot of shoes, sweaters, and a lot of knickknacks or a lot of heavy items. So that option number 1 is fantastic for a large walk-in closet. Option number 2. This is great that when somebody wants a corner module that's full of shelves, but it's more so of a walk-through closet or a narrow walk-in closet. So they still want the corner shelves, but there's not a lot of space. So this gives that flexibility. Or if they simply just like the aesthetic look. Option 3 is going to be the most popular by far because it's not a true corner module. It doesn't cater to shelves. It can, but it can also cater to closet rods. This is the least expensive by far and the most popular by far. And I recommend anybody wanting to utilize the corner system, but don't want to pay and save costs is option number 3. All right, moving on is we need to talk about our 1.5 inch offerings if nobody has any questions at all. Perfect. So I'm going to talk about our 1.5 inch offerings. I'm going to use this system as an example. This system right now is a tall module, 36 inches wide by 14 inches deep. We can always alter any piece to change it from a 3/4 inch panel to a 1.5 inch panel. There are a couple of different ways to do that. My recommended way is to individually change each part to 1.5 inches. You can easily right-click on any of these items and go into features and options. If something is currently selected, like right now I have selected this module into place, I'm going to left-click off screen on the right-hand area so that nothing is selected. I'm going to go back in and right-click that particular part. So I'm going to click on this right panel, right-click it like so, and it says PNLR, meaning that's my panel on the right, which is what I'd like. I'll follow the wizard and go all the way down to features and options, and I'll left click features and options like so. A new window appears, and if I scroll down, I know that's been selected, as you can see here. If I minimize this window, I know that's selected because it's currently highlighted in green. The features for that particular item are below in this window here. It's currently a TFL product, currently in white, and the thickness is currently 3/4 inches thickness. If I click on this 34 option code, I can click on this drop-down button and select 1.5 inch offerings, or I can select on this icon here on the right-hand side of this window. So 2 different ways to select 1.5 inch offerings. I'll click at 1.5 inch thickness. I'll click on OK. And now you can see that we have changed this particular panel to 3/4 inches, from 3/4 inches to 1.5 inches thick. I can do the exact same thing for any of these items. I can drag an item into place, go to my parts, go into my shelves, drop it in. And again, I can right click on that particular item, or I can left click off screen, make sure nothing's selected. Then again, go back to my item, go to my shelf, follow the wizard, then go to features and options, and now change it to 1.5 inches thick. Click on OK, and now I have a 1.5 inch thick panel. So we can always manipulate everything by itself or its entirety. This is my recommended way. On our elevation 2, I'll show you another way that we can offer 1.5 inch offerings is our bench seating or countertops. Let's do some countertops right now. I'm going to click on our categories, modules, and I'm going to drag a tall module into place. I'm holding my button down. I see my magnet, go to my farthest left, unclick my button, and a new window appears. Right click on the illustration so I can see it a bit better. And I'm going to make this depth, 19 inches deep. We can always change the depth at any time. Once again, our opening depth is a minimum of 8 inches deep to a maximum of 30 inches depth. I'll keep this at 19 for now. Opening width, I'll make this one 30 inches wide. And my heights, I'm going to go all the way down to countertop height. Countertop height is really whatever your end client would like. It could be anywhere between 35 inches all the way to 49 inches, whatever height you'd like. I'll make a countertop that's 43 5/8 for now. 19 inches in depth, 30 inches wide. I'll click on OK. I'll drop it into place and I will drag it my apologies, go up and down, go all the way to the very bottom. Now that I have a set module, underneath my categories, I can double click on my parts. Once again, as indicated in our Module 1 training, we have 4 different categories in our parts. We have our panels. So if I double click panels, we have panels on the left, wall panels and dividers. If I double click on parts again, we have our shelves. Underneath our shelves, we have our fixed shelves, adjustable shelves, slanted shoe shelves with fences, bridge shelves, glass shelves, corner shelves, and outside corner shelves. Underneath our parts, the next section is our drawers. We have our dovetail drawer boxes with our flat fronts. We have our 5-piece drawers for our melamine 5-piece with a flat front. The next section is our scoop dovetail drawer boxes. This is no drawer fronts, but again, it's scooped, perfect for pantries and mudrooms and for areas where your client wants to save a little bit of cost. We have jewelry trays, belt trays, and ironing boards. Underneath our parts, last but not least, underneath our panels, shelves, and drawers, we have our cleats, toe kicks, valences, backs, inserts, doors, and tops and fillers. Underneath my part section here, I have my tops. I'm going to drag my top. I see my magnet. I'm going to let go of my mouse, and it automatically places it wherever it's closest to. I'll left click right here, drop it in, and you see my top. If I right click my top, go into my tops, go into attributes. Let's take a look at the physical properties for this. Whenever I click on attributes, I always like to click on variables. Variable tab is where everything is going to be located. Underneath my variable tabs, if I scroll down to the middle, we have overhang back, overhang front, overhang left, and overhang right. By default, we have a 1-inch overhang on the front. Different dealers can manipulate this to have no overhang. Maybe you want a 1/2-inch overhang or a 0.75 overhang. Every dealer is going to be a little bit different. I'll keep it at the default of a 1-inch overhang, and I can easily change and make a overhang on the left and an overhang on the right if I so choose. This works great if I have no modules beside it, and this could be a perfect standalone. If I have modules beside it and I want to make this flush, then yes, I would go back to my tops, go into my attributes, and change the overhang from the left and the right and make this to 0 and keep the overhang on the front. So this will work great if I wanted a countertop and I wanted it flush with the left and the right. I have an overhang of 1, and I can simply drag this beside an existing module, and that won't interfere whatsoever. So this is a great countertop addition. Now, if I wanted bench seating, it would be the exact same premise. I can keep the depth the way it is, and I can simply go into my attributes and shorten this module down. Right-click on the illustration, left-click on my variables, and I'm going to make this to seating height. I typically will make the carcass roughly about 18 inches, 18 and 7/16. I'll click on apply and OK. And you can see here that I have now lowered the actual countertop, and now this acts as a bench seat. If I take a look at my annotations, I now have a 19 and 15/16 in the very top of the actual bench to the actual floor. So this is a great addition for bench seating in the middle of modules. This instance works great, especially if you have a window. You might want to have bench seating underneath a window. So this works great. Now, a question that I get asked is, why can't I just manipulate this fixed shelf and change it to 1.5 inches? So let's take a look if we did that purpose. If I go into my existing top, I'll go into my features and options, and I'll change the properties from 3/4 inches to 1.5. Well, this wouldn't work because take a look, we need this as a base. So this wouldn't work. So we'll always need to have a regular top shelf and then create a top and put a 1.5-inch countertop or a 3/4 inch countertop on top of that existing one. We can't just have this by itself. Right now we have 4 fasteners and 4 cams that set it into place, but that does not give it enough stability for bench seating. So I always recommend keeping the top fixed shelf and adding a countertop on top of that. I'll click on undo. So once again, I'll go into my categories, parts, and underneath parts at the very, very bottom, I have tops. Drag my tops in and drop it into place. And that is my recommended way to do it. You can see the actual stability is now above the fixed shelf and above the actual left and right panels. We're nearing our session here. Elizabeth, is there anything else that you'd like to talk about? Or Loretta, do you have any questions, or anybody else in the group?
I think that I'm really glad that we covered corners today. Are you still with us, Loretta?
Yeah, I just muted myself. Can you put drawers in the bench seat?
Of course you can.
Or,
absolutely.
Okay.
You can put drawers.
That you would just add as an add.
Yes. Well, let's talk about drawers really quick here. I'm going to go ahead and delete this corner module here, and I'm going to work in this space right here. So I'm going to work on this elevation here. I'm going to go into my categories, my modules. I'm going to drag in a tall module like so. Drop it in. I'll right click, and I'll make this one 18 inches wide. Click on OK and drop it in. I'm going to make another module, tall corner module, drop it in. This time I'm going to make it a different depth. Let's make this one 24 inches deep by 18 inches wide. Okay. Click on OK.
Mm-hmm.
And last but not least, I'm going to click on a wall module system. Drag it in. Right click on the illustration. And I'm going to make this one 72 5/8, the most popular size for wall modules. make this one 18 inches wide. And instead of a bottom shelf with a hanging rod, I'm just going to create a bottom shelf. So we have three different types of modules. We have a tall module on the left with 14 inches in depth. We have a tall module in the middle, 18 inches wide, but this one's 24 inches depth. And the wall module on the right, which is 14 inches depth, again, 18 inches wide. So we have three different types of modules, as you can see on the bottom of the screen here. I can go into my categories, parts, shelves, and drawers. We want drawers. So we have several different types of drawers that we can do. And we're going to mix it and match it. Regardless of the module, the program is smart enough that it will resize any type of part and any type of drawer. So if I go ahead to my Dovetail drawer boxes and I'll click on our 12-inch high Dovetail drawer front, I can drag it into place. I see my magnet, let go of my mouse, and I can easily drop it in. I'm going to zoom in like so, drop it in. You can notice that I can't go all the way to the floor because right now it's just grabbing the actual drawer box. I'll left click once, and now it populates it with the door and the drawer box. I'm going to do that once again. Left click, drop it in. I see my magnet. Again, I'm just dragging the drawer box. I'll go all the way to the bottom. Again, there's a little bit of space. I can't go any further down. But if I left click now, it'll now populate with the drawer box and the drawer fronts. Let's do the exact same thing on this system here that is 24 inches deep. I'll drag a drawer box 12 inches high. This is our Dovetail. Drop it into place again. And it sets it in place. So you can see that regardless of the module, it will always resize it with it. And now let's do the exact same thing on the wall module. Drag it into place. And it resized it for us. Now, here's another example. During the editing phase, you do not have to resize any of those items. I'm going to left click on my wall module, right click and go into my attributes. Right click on the illustration, go into my variables. Now, instead of making this 18 inches wide, I'm going to change this to, let's say, 30 inches wide. I'll click on apply. And it moves it ever so much on the left-hand side. Click on OK. I've got a little bit of a collision here, so I'll just drag it to the left. It's colliding with the corner module. But you can see what the program just did. The program now resized the actual drawer box regardless. So modules are always an important aspect. As indicated on module number 1, modules are the most important aspects before you create anything on the inside. So before you create parts, before you add drawers, set all your modules in place for all the entirety of and all the walls before you put everything inside. And then during the editing phase, everything will resize with it. Okay. Now with our drawer box,
Perfect.
There is a general rule that you need a fixed shelf at the very bottom of the drawer bank and at the very top of the drawer bank. That is the general rule.
Mm-hmm.
Option number 1 for this module system, I'm going to click on our parts, go to our shelves, and grab a fixed shelf and drag it in. I'm going to zoom in so you can see it a bit better. All our drawer fronts are half overlay and our door fronts. So if I just drop this down a little bit more, drop it in, you can see that I have a half overlay. So if I move it up, we don't want it there. We want it just underneath for a half overlay. And I'll do the same thing over here. Half overlay. Now, what if your drawer box is not on the very bottom? So let's move this up a little bit. Move this up and down. Let's just say that you want your drawer box here, but you want open shelving here. Well, then therefore, you will now need to have a fixed shelf at the very bottom, half overlay, and at the very top, half overlay.
Okay.
If you have, and the same thing applies if you go into our categories, our parts and drawers. So we talked about our Dovetail drawer box. The Melamine 5-piece is exactly the same concept, but with our Dovetail drawer boxes, if I drag that into place, I don't need an actual fixed shelf at the very top. I don't need a fixed shelf at the very bottom. This can be a standalone if you choose, absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
You're very welcome. Is there any other questions that I can help you with, Loretta or Elizabeth?
That's great. Thanks.
Just,
I think, oh, go ahead, Loretta.
I think we're done. I just have one real quick on the corner cabinets. Can you put backs in it, or are they always open?
Great question. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's do that example. Okay, I'm going to use this module and the corner module as my example for backs.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so backs. There are two ways to put in a back. One is an applied back and one is an applied insert back.
Mm.
If I have an existing module into place, sorry, it's more convoluted than I thought. So with backs, this is my exact tall module. If I have a tall module in place, now this is my tall module that's, I'll make this one, let's say 14 inches. I'll just make it standard just for this presentation here.
Mm-hmm.
I'll make this one 14 inches in depth. So this is my tall module that's 14 inches in depth. If I go into my parts section, underneath my parts, I have back connect to fix shelf. If I click on back connect to fix shelf, I can drag it in here, and I know that I have a fixed shelf at the very top and a fixed shelf at the very bottom. I can drop it in, and now I have an inserted back on the inside. You can see the illustrations and the triangles on each corner. So if this system was 14 inches depth, I have now put a 3/4 inch inset backing. So now the depth for this particular module is now 13.25 inches. So you've kind of lost a little bit of space because we put an insert back. If we click on another module, go into my modules, tall module, we'll insert another module right beside it right here. Drop it in. Right click on the image. If I go up and down, 83 and 15/16, applied back. If I put an applied back, I can put a 3/4 inch back, and take a look here. If I zoom in, now the back is behind the panels. So this is still going to be 14 inches in depth, but overall it's going to be 14.75 inches.
Okay.
So there's two different types to insert a back.
Okay.
You can see if I zoom in here,
Yeah.
you can see the different depths. So this is
Yep.
shorter, this is a bit bigger. Now for our tall corner modules, I'll click on my top view and we'll put in a corner module right here. Click on categories, modules, go to my tall corner module, drag it into the area. I see my magnet. I'm going to let go of my mouse. Right click on the item. And as you can see here, because we have 3 panels, there is no option to put applied back. For this system, it will not work for an applied back. So if we drop this in, I'll make this one 36 inches wide. So you can see it a bit better here.
Mm-hmm.
There is no reason to put an applied back because we'd have to put an applied back at the very back here and the back here. Because our CNC machine systems are not set up, there's no reason to put an applied back here because we already have a 3rd panel in place. And that's the reason why we did not in manufacturing place an applied back option for a tall corner module. If I drop it into place here, and let's do a little test. So this is my corner module. So we know that an applied back doesn't work. Let's go into our categories, our parts, go to the very bottom, and we'll click on back, connect to fix shelf. We'll drop it in. And as you can see, it does not work either.
Okay.
Because we have the 3rd panel into place already that acts as stability.
Right.
I will do another session, Loretta, talking about backs because we also have decorative backs as well.
Okay.
In our
Well, that's
brand new
all the questions.
Okay, sounds great. So thank you very much, Loretta, for joining, and thank you very much, Elizabeth. We will be doing basic sessions on every Tuesday, and every Thursday we will be talking about different topics and different types of items that we can do, tips and tricks, but we'll always be a little bit more advanced. Next week, we'll be talking about accessories, island modules, and peninsulas. And then the following will probably be tips and tricks. Okay. As indicated, every single time you can
Thank you
click on our, yeah, you're very welcome, Loretta. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Loretta. Have a great day.
For the rest of you, every time that you want to learn a little bit more, you can always log into our dealer portal training, go into our training tab, click on our software. And underneath our software, we can go into our training videos. All of these videos are a step-by-step process on our setup, as well as how to build a closet from scratch. These are all videos between 1 to 5 minutes long, and it really pinpoints the exact item that you want to design with. We have tops, we have how to create modules, how to create backs, and so forth. So all the YouTube videos are all located here underneath this design tab. Every Tuesdays and Thursdays is our webinar session where we go a little bit above and beyond and we do continual education. And maybe you want a little bit more information and maybe you want to be part of the webinar as opposed to going through here. So there's always going to be 3 different options. One, you can go into here 24 hours a day, 7 days a week into training in our software tab. Option number 2, you can click on one of our old webinars. You can click on our PFC 2020 webinar. Click on our past webinars so you can see our past webinars. We've recently started doing that effective February. Or you can also log into our live webinar every Tuesdays and Thursdays, 1 hour long at 10 o'clock a.m. Pacific and 1 o'clock p.m. Eastern. Thank you very much for this session, and we hope to see everybody next Tuesday or next Thursday. Thank you very much.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Thanks, everyone.